not yet 10K lah, 9.98 lah.
By the time this
Yo,
goes up,
cannot
it's like
sleep lah.
really. It's like 9.96.
We're watching it go up. Is it? 9.97 already last I checked.
9.97, yeah. It's like 30
now?
more people.
You check now?
Yeah, I checked
I'm
just
sure it's
now before you
9.98.
came. Wow, so fast. Why is it climbing so fast? Can you guys slow down? Stop subscribing. 9.964.
Hey, no!
35 more people
9.9?
and then it's 6.4.
Oh shit, 25 people more. Oh.
Yeah, man. 35. Ooh, so tense.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think by the time this goes up, it'll be 10K. So I guess thank you all very much. Our content is very left field. It's not easy to find so many people who are interested in watching two grown men talk about a car for a long time, and then open and close a lot of doors for 3 or 4 minutes. But yeah, 10,000. That's incredible.
Yeah, thanks
you. Everyone. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We were supposed to do a very special 10K video where we up the quality, but test cars, is still considered MCO period. Yeah, so a lot of the companies are not giving up their test cars. But I think one of the earlier ones we can expect is maybe a Honda Accord or something, one of the newer cars that were launched this year. I'll try to get something we haven't driven before. And then we'll show what our new quality will be like. But then we'll also have to clear out the old stock of old videos, which is the shitty quality.
Is that still a lot?
There's still a lot. It's like a never-ending list. So every time I finish one, I go and I tick the box and I'm like, oh, why is the list not getting shorter? But it's good lah. I mean, it means there will always be content to look forward to, even if it doesn't go.
We should look back in years to come when we have 30,000-40,000 subscribers. We'll be laughing at the production quality.
At the quality, yeah. Oh my god. But the good news is the remaining videos, the quality is slightly better than our worst quality.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. The remaining videos are the ones shot with the nice camera and the nice microphone.
The sound is better with the fluffy thing.
Yeah, with the fluffy cat. Yeah. So, thinking about things to talk about for 10K, I guess the first thing is the Tesla guy. Yeah.
I mean, you're in the industry, you get to meet all these funny things. Once in a while, your boss writes up an article about something fishy. I mean, of course, you've been in the business for so long. He's been in the business for so long. He knows what's going on. When you see something a bit out of the ordinary, you investigate. It's not even journalistic, investigative journalism. You just, call up the number, do some search, and then you found out this guy is a bit fishy.
Yeah.
After the article went up, the guy actually contacted your boss. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I think we should give them some context first.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened was my boss got sent a flyer for a Tesla Model 3. 385 for a standard Model 3, Tesla Model 3.
Yeah.
Seemed to be Japanese spec. With very base model stuff, and he had a Malaysian phone number down there, and he had all these free accessories, like the charging kit was going to be free, and he was charging at cost every option that Tesla Japan.
It's like 380,000 ringgit for a Japan CBU Tesla Model 3. Not bottom of the line spec, isn't it? Is it bottom of the line?
No, it was in Japan. The minimum spec is that one. But in the US,
but it's not bottom
spec.
of the line.
It's not the low spec US spec. It's like they call it a standard range plus or something like that.
I remember there was a plus there. Something
so the
plus.
range.
Mazda.
Yeah.
Tesla Model
Japanese.
3.
Standard range plus or something like that. So I think
like that.
I can't remember the exact details, but when I went to the Tesla Japan website, this was like the minimum spec you can buy for the Model 3 in Japan. And I did some conversion, and I consulted you, and I consulted my boss also, and it seemed doable, but the margins were a bit too thin. It seems like somebody who's probably doing cars for the first time, or didn't, or found some new way to do it where you could get away with just surviving on the
I think if you give it the benefit of the doubt, if you give it the benefit of the doubt, what will happen is that there is a good chance that there was support from the manufacturer. That means, the manufacturer is selling at slightly lower price to penetrate a particular market, right?
Right.
But I don't think it's that. I don't think that's how Tesla does things, right?
No.
Tesla, under Elon Musk, that wouldn't take, this feels like something Seat would do. You know what I mean? Some Chinese company would do, you know what I mean? Something like China would do.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like something Tesla would do. Elon Musk, company, it represents the way he does things. If he's going to penetrate into Southeast Asia, he's going to do it right.
Yeah, he's going to have a long-term vision for it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. So it doesn't sound, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's a bit hard to give that there was support from Tesla itself. So it's not from Tesla itself. Okay, fine. Then where does it come from? Maybe he has some way. I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm just saying that, in the automotive industry, this kind of hanky-panky do happen. That he has some ways to reduce the custom charges. Yeah. He has some ways to reduce the custom charges, either here, or he has some ways to get the cars a little bit cheap over there. Right?
Yeah.
But all of it sounds very fishy, and all of it sounds a little bit unsustainable. Sounds like something that the change of government happened, and then straight away this whole deal is gone kind of situation. I think I'm being quite clear.
I'm not a business person, but the thing that immediately tipped me off was I expected this to be like a sort of reseller sort of situation. This guy is buying from Tesla through Japan, and then he's reselling. So if you're going to do something like this, you better have a little bit of margin to play with, right? You cannot sell at cost because you're not buying at a supplier kind of price, right? And he was selling the options at cost. So if the optional color is 5,000 ringgit after conversion, he's charging customers here 5,000 ringgit. In fact, slightly less. Okay. It's like a few cents less when you convert it. So if the currency exchange just drops a little bit, he's losing money on an option.
You're screwed.
You're screwed. So I'm like, I don't think anyone who has done this kind of business before will do this kind of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't look like someone who's done it. That if it's speccing it to you, Japan spec, the issue then will become delivery time, isn't it? No, I'm not saying you can't. You can't be an agent of a Japanese Tesla, a seller in Japan. That you are speccing as if you are in Japan. Then they deliver the car as if they're in Japan, but then it gets onto a ship and gets here. But therein lies the problem. The delivery time, if you were to go through this, will not be streamlined. And he promised a delivery period, isn't it? What was it? The promise 6 weeks.
It was a very wide period, something like 6 to 16 weeks or something like that. It's so big,
6 to 16 weeks.
Yeah, something like that. Some huge gap.
Okay.
I put the actual one here, but it was so big. It was like, wow, this guy is like, he doesn't even know when he can get the product in,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a reseller would, chances are, at least have the car ready. If you don't want to pay the custom first or whatever, at least have the car ready. Or at least export it to some custom-free zone like Langkawi and have the car sit there. Then bring it in whenever there's a sale or something like that.
Yeah. Or at least to make it more viable. Yeah, to make it more viable, cut down the spec list. Offer just 2 colors, one rim option, and then done. Just say we have ready stock, sell it like that. But
I'm just thinking if I'm selling, that would be my route. In fact, I wouldn't even have 2 colors. I may even have just 1. So I bring in like 5 cars, and then I'll give myself a 6 months period to sell off the 5 cars. And if I have the margin of say 50,000 ringgit each car, then that's 300,000 ringgit in a year. But that's very slim margin, man, to be honest, because there's so much cost. You have holding costs, you unpredictable costs from the custom side, unless you really come chang with them until you know that they can give you a commitment amount that, whenever you sell one, this is the amount you have to pay. If you don't get that, seriously, man, the moment they change their mind, you are screwed, man.
Yeah.
An additional 10% of the selling price, your margin is completely gone. So I don't know lah.
He says he has a technical partner from Japan. So he's sharing whatever small margin he has with this guy from Japan, which is even more ludicrous.
I think technical partner is the least of the amount of problem. I'll tell you why. Because many importers actually bring in cars from UK and Japan without technical support. Right? That's not an issue. There are still buyers here in Malaysia. Just ask the recon guys. You want some numbers? I can give you one for free or 10 for free now. You know, they don't need any technical freaking support. You know what you need? You need bureaucratic support. That's what you need when you bring in cars from Japan. And basically, you need people in the customs. You need experiences in the custom. You need lines to pull. I'm not even talking about corruption. I'm not. I'm talking about getting things done. You know, you need to understand the system. You need people who's worked in there to know how to get it done. And if technical support, dude, that's the last of your concern, lah. Any parts you have, you just buy from Japan now. What the heck is the problem? You get what I mean? Even Aston Martin owners in Malaysia, they fly in. You know when enough Aston Martin has enough problem, which is quite easy to get. All these owners, they would fly in a mechanic from Japan or wherever, and then this guy will be here for like 3-4 days, and he will look at all the cars and he will tell them how to sort them out. You get what I mean? So this kind of thing do happen. So what technical support do you need? Seriously. So that's
speaking of
Tesla.
Do you want to talk about our own cars for 10K, or do you want to talk about other news items?
Oh yeah. Can talk about our own cars. What car do you want to talk about?
Or rather, I think what we should talk about is how we base our own car purchasing decisions, because both of us have very different lifestyle. You and I, completely different way of buying new cars, but we both drive a lot of new cars, new test cars. I personally, I think I've driven over 300 plus test cars since I started, which is quite crazy.
You are spoiled, completely spoiled.
I'm quite spoiled, definitely.
Because it doesn't impress you. You know, I'll give you a 500,000 ringgit car and you go like, meh. People pay 5,000 ringgit a month, 4,000 ringgit a month for it. You're like, meh. It doesn't impress me anymore.
I am the source of the dislikes in this YouTube
I know,
channel.
right? And all you see is weaknesses. Cheap plastic. Unfound plastics.
But
I mean, we have very different tastes in cars. You are the most millennial I can think of. Spoiled in car choices, millennial.
Yes.
No, you are the hipster lah. You are the complete hipster in your car choice. You know, anything that's popular is bad. That's just stupid. All right. Correct or not?
In my experience, when all the pigs go to one throw to drink water, that place is probably poison. So go somewhere else and drink.
I'm the opposite of that. You know, I've walked the difficult path all my life, and I realized, listen to the uncle. Yes, wisdom. Because the wisdom is you over fucking complicate things all the time. You see too many factors. At the end of the day, what matters is how much money you get back. It doesn't make your butt hurt. That's all. So I'll talk about my car choices. I mean, everybody has different conditions. There's environment. Some of us live in apartments, so you only have 1 or 2 parking spaces. So you got to be very careful with the choices of cars that you make. I don't have that problem. I don't have parking space problem, and my car choices a little bit reflect that lah. I have a couple of classic cars left. I sold some off. I have a couple of there are 3 classic cars in my house. They move like once in a long while. Before I go on to continue with the topic, I have to say this. One trait I notice about classic car players, people who play with classic cars, there's this, I don't know lah. They like to show off lah. Show off like how, Oh, I drive my classic car to Muar, man, and back.
I
always like
a doable thing.
What? Yeah. Go to Klang also, I'll think twice. You drive your classic car, 60-year-old classic car to Muar and back.
Right.
And then I went to Batu Pahat and back. I went to Thailand and back. What they don't tell you is how many times it broke down, and in the entire convoy, how many mechanics there are in there to sort out problems that shows up. Yeah. Do not do this nonsense. I mean, we play enough classic cars.
What they don't bring up is that the fact that trip was not a leisurely drive with a family.
No.
it was not an
No.
emergency last minute trip. It was
No.
planned for days or weeks just to prove that the car can do it, can go in a straight line for
And
3
actually, the car
hours.
cannot. And the car should not, but you
Should
do
not,
it
yeah.
anyway. So I have a 3 classic cars at home. They are in relative good health, but not perfect health. I wouldn't drive it to Klang lah, unless I absolutely have to. So I also have space for quite a few cars. But I'll tell you, over the years, I realized that headache lah, maintenance. You know, so I have some cars that are really heavy in maintenance. Give you an example is a Mercedes CLS. Oh my goodness, that thing. Everything can go wrong. Everything that goes wrong is a couple of thousand ringgit. And they go wrong once every 3 months, you know. 1 year, at least you will have 4 to 5 problems. Lah. Each problem is about 2 to 3,000 ringgit. Like, you do your own math. Lah. You know, that's 12,000. Now, when I got the car, you're right, reliably unreliable. But one thing is very reliable. You set aside about 12,000 ringgit to 15,000 ringgit every year. It will be spent. When I got the car, it was recon in the beginning, the first 3 years, not much problem. But after that, of course, all sorts of electronic issues, wear and tear issues starting to crop up in the past 2 to 3 years. They are not cheap. They are not cheap to maintain. Another one I have is Porsche, a Boxster. That was like my vanity, like, it's like a chop lah, the seal of approval, seal of the fact that I made it. So I bought it when I was 29. So I'm the proudest guy in the world. I bought myself a Porsche before I reached 30. Yeah, but you know, God has a way of, God, if it exists, has a way of putting you back in your place. So one day I was coming home in my Porsche and a lightning strike like 20 feet away from the car. Now, that's not usually an issue, other than the fact that there was a little bit of a flood and the water level is above my tire. So basically the rim was in contact with the water. So the lightning strike completely short-circuited the entire car. Took about 40,000 ringgit of a complete Frankenstein job to bring the car back to its running condition. It took about 40,000 ringgit.
Do you still have
some issues.
electronic? Do you still have electronic gremlins
there are
up in the
two.
Boxster?
It's just that I choose not to fix them because they don't disturb me.
Right.
There are still two modules. One is the light module. So I think the replacement I got was for a slightly different model, because Porsche in Europe, they allow you to customize so much until that there are so many specs, different specs going around. So you can't just take one car's light switch and put it into another car. And I think that's what happened. So my light switches doesn't correspond with what's going on with the symbol. So 0 is all lights on. In order for me to turn off the light, I have to go to the small lamp. So that was messed up. Right. I've inquired the correct one to replace, costs 1,000 plus to 2,000 ringgit, but it doesn't bother me. It's just that I just have to remember which position to put it in. Yeah. There's a second one, which is the alternator. The alternator has a sensor there to sense whether the alternator is charging correctly. The sensor is gone. Unfortunately, they don't just sell the sensor, they sell the alternator together with the sensor, but my alternator is still working. And that change was about 2,000+, 3,000 ringgit change. I don't see the point of spending this 5,000 ringgit just to have, it in the right position and whatnot. So these two are the items. And of course, being a Boxster, you have other issues as well. You have the roof, the canvas. In Malaysia, our weather not very conducive. So it hardens over time and it doesn't close very well. So I got that change as well. That was quite costly. It's 9,000.
You found one in the right color.
Yeah. No, I eventually settled for black. It's more, because the original color was blue, which is nice. It's just
harder to find.
I settle for black. It's a safer color. But if I'm going to buy a car, I will buy Alphard forever. Toyota Alphard is the ultimate car, I tell you. It's the ultimate car. Now, to be honest, let's address some of the issue people claim. It's boxy, doesn't look good. That's subjective. I think Alphard and Velfire has its own aura. I wouldn't say looks, but aura. It projects an aura of, I don't know, man. I am a little bit above you, so screw you. Kind of aura. You know? So in a way, I don't really mind its aura. But I tell you, I really absolutely love the car. Why? Because number one, let's address some issue people complain. Looks, just now we say already. The second issue people complain is the size. Now, if you were to go around Damansara Heights and you just hang around Tadika, I'm not saying you should because you look like a pedophile. just go around Tadika and whatnot. You see a lot of ladies, mothers, driving Alphards and Velfires, dropping their kids. Do you know why they can do that? Because Alphard and Velfire, in terms of dimension, is not as large as you think. In fact, it is narrower than a Mercedes-Benz E-Class by a couple of cm. It's narrower, and it's shorter than an E-Class in an overall length. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
So actually, it is not that big. So if you can drive an E-Class around, you can drive an Alphard around. Here's the best part. An E-Class has an entire front. An Alphard has a 3 feet distance from your driving position to the end of the front. So in terms of
and you're sitting
maneuvering,
high up.
Exactly.
And
so
and your windows are this
visibility, maneuverability is so good. And then you have reverse camera. It's not an issue. You get what I mean? So there is no reason to fear its size. It's all in the head. It's all in the head. That's the second issue. Number 3 issue, people complain. I remember an article in Portan. They say, Alphard is not up to class with the Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Of course it is not, What do you think? There are, of course, significant difference. But there, with that amount of padding and metal and NVH foam and all those tech to make an S-Class an S-Class, in 10 years' time, it will also give you equivalent amount, proportionate amount of headache. You get what I mean? Sorry, there's a call coming in, so I'll try to decline it. Yeah, okay. Whereas an Alphard and a Velfire is basically a Camry supersize. Basically, an Alphard and a Velfire is a Camry supersize. That's what it is. Its NVH is not great. I mean, we're talking about Camry level NVH. But ultimately, how much comfort do you need? I mean, who are you? Are you the CEO of some $20 billion company that your ass have to sit on air all the time? Don't have to lah.
If you wanted something more comfortable and luxurious than Alphard, then you have the Lexus LM or the new Lexus version of the Alphard.
But I'm pretty sure that thing by the time it gets here will be more expensive than an S-Class, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, where was I? Comfort. Comfort.
Yeah.
Space. Oh yeah, no, I was talking. My Alphard is almost 10 years old already, 9 years old already. So because it's 9 years old already, I kind of abuse it a bit. I use it as a van also for my businesses and whatnot. So it's so flexible and versatile. When I carry my kids and family around, it's so comfortable. It's quite reliable. I can use it like a workhorse. And on top of that, I can carry heavy things. Of course, that being said, heavy is relative lah. Because, I did, some wear and tear did go out because I was carrying really heavy cement based stuff in the back, and it kind of wear out some of the joints at the back, and I have to replace them. I wouldn't know whether prematurely, but for Toyota standard, I would say 10 years is premature lah. But maybe for Alphard it's not, I don't know. So but it's so versatile, man. It's not even about show off anymore. For me, the car is just, my utilitarian vehicle that I do everything in, comfortable, and I completely forgot that, some people still look to the car and go like, wow, I want one.
Yeah, and I remember my perspective was changed the first time I drove your Alphard. Because before that, in my head was like, this is just some bulky, minivan that will have no, that won't drive like a passenger car at all. But it has, it just drives like a really tall Camry, and that's about it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. It handles pretty okay, as long as you're not doing some stupid speed and whatnot. especially the second model. The first model is a bit more problematic because the first model has some suspension. No, the one that killed Tiger of Jelutong, which is
the first gen Alphard.
The first generation of Alphard. Yeah. My generation is the second generation. I will replace my Alphard sometime in the next year or so. Probably to the current, what they call it, the transformer. The market top, the transformer model.
The busy face.
More luxurious. Yeah. Out of the world face. But a lot of times when you're buying a car, especially a Toyota, the look is not the most important thing.
Should I talk about my journey of car ownership?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your hipster journey.
My hipster millennial
the most
journey.
Hipster ever.
I'm lucky enough that my work is, I can work anywhere, so it's fine.
Flexible.
Flexible. Then the second thing I asked myself is, do I need a daily car? And then because I don't work from home, I don't go to the office every day. In fact, I barely ever have to go to the office. So I don't need.
Do you have an office?
My boss's house. That's the office. I started off with some junker Civic, which was kept alive by a former Daihatsu rally mechanic, and it just served me well. But I learned from that experience that old Hondas can be slow car fast, relatively cheap to maintain, but there's nothing special about them. It's not worth doing up an old Honda most of the time. Especially if it's
unless you're talking about a Civic R and whatnot.
If it's like a 3-door hatchback, then it's worth it. But then you look at the market price of those 3-door hatchbacks, it's crazy. It's like 30,000-40,000. Yeah, man.
Nonsense lah.
It's mad.
Complete nonsense.
Yeah. So I was lucky to get a popular Civic, but in sedan form and with the manual gearbox. So it's like, okay lah, I ticked most of the boxes. I didn't get the VTEC engine. I didn't get the hatchback form, but most of the fun elements were there. And I just I enjoyed it for a while. And then suddenly in 2016, there were a few jobs that came in. And suddenly I realized, hey, I got extra money. Why don't I start researching what car I should buy?
The beginning of the downfall.
Yeah, the beginning of downfall. At the same time, I was thinking, I don't need to get my last car now. I can still play around with, all these cars that people are talking about. And I started to get very infatuated with the idea of a inline six.
BMW.
No. Before even talking about BMW, I was like, I need to get an inline six. I need to experience the smoothness that everyone is talking about. This refined quality and all that.
It's urban myth lah.
It's urban myth, but I learned it the hard way.
It's urban myth. Inline 6 from the 90s. What a joke, man. By today's standard.
I'll tell you
inline 3 is better.
I tell you how I when my disillusionment happened. Okay, but the choice I made was I looked at the available options. It was basically old Mercedes, old BM, old Nissan, or old Toyota. These are the four that in Malaysian market you can still find for a reasonable price. But then I started to realize that old Toyotas and old Nissans are highly sought after.
Very expensive. I mean, for what they are.
Yeah,
you're nothing less than 20,000, 30,000.
Exactly. They are special because of that lah. They are usually rear wheel drive.
The drift scenes and whatnot.
Yeah,
they say the RB and the 1Js
yeah, exactly. Those are it was way over my budget. It was like nearly triple my budget. And I don't go drifting. I don't do all these motorsports events, so it just didn't factor into my thing lah. So I just cancelled that out. Then I looked, why is there so many cheap BMWs on the market?
There is a reason why BMW is cheap.
Someone
listen to the uncle. Don't listen to the guy who hangs around the workshop. There's a reason why he hangs around the workshop.
The problem is I did listen to those people, and then I found this really relatively well kept 5 Series. It started up.
It was actually surprisingly well kept. I remember. It was so desirable the night you brought it for me. Even I got slightly infatuated, but I have the benefit of age. You see, I knew
you knew there's something behind it. And then the problem started coming like I thought, okay, we can use this as a long distance cruiser. And the first time I took it to JB, the thing overheated. The engine heat cracked.
No!
And this was after a $3,000 repair bill for the suspension, which I fixed up. The front brakes, the rotors had all gone. So I said, okay, change everything, and then we go to JB. So this is like 1 week after I took it from the mechanic. and immediately the engine had cracked, you know. So I managed to find a replacement from this very nice guy, and then got it replaced for relatively. I was lucky, I got a relatively cheap fix. I think within like 1,200, everything was settled. For engine rebuild, it was okay, it was quite
okay. That's quite cheap,
quite cheap. Yeah. Then.
But I could use the 1,002 for other things.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking also. And then within a few months, I took it somewhere and then I put it into reverse, and the car refused to go into reverse.
Gearbox gone!
Yeah.
European cars bane. Gearbox, man.
Yeah. So that was another, I think, 4,000 plus.
How much was it?
4,000 plus.
Holy crap!
Yeah, but it came with like a warranty, and it was a rebuild. It wasn't. I didn't buy a reconditioned part and put in. I took the same gearbox, and then my mechanic rebuilt it and put it in. So
to be honest, a 30-year-old car that is not a coupe or a collector's item do not deserve that kind of attention.
Exactly. I mean? This is how I learned these lessons. The lesson I learned about inline six being a bit overrated for. It is. As a cruiser, you know when I learned this?
Yeah.
When I went to Rawang to pick up a Perodua Myvi test car, okay? I went to Rawang, it started raining, and there's this flyover highway with no emergency lanes. Okay, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically the highway is suspended up in the air, and you cannot stop. There's just 2 lanes, and you're flying up in there. It's a beautiful highway, but I was going there in the 5 Series, in the E34, and it was raining cats and dogs, and my wipers were on, and suddenly one wiper died. My driver's side wiper died, and it was just the passenger side wiping, and I cannot see anything. It was raining like mad, so I was sticking my head that side and driving the car like this.
that's the moment you realize what are you doing?
What am I doing in my life? Like, why is this car trying to kill me? I'm pouring so much money into it. And then on my journey back from Perodua, I was driving the new Myvi back, and I was like,
you gave the car a kick.
When I was driving in my BMW, I was going, I think 90 plus, 90 to 100. And the car was revving around 2,005 to 3,000 RPM for a 2.5 liter inline six. That's really not what you expect, you know. So then when I was in the Myvi driving back, I was going 110, and the thing was revving at slightly lower RPM. And I realized the NVH was better. Everything was better.
Yes,
and
it's much more comfortable.
The wipers were working. The car wasn't trying to kill me. And I realized the car will be that good for the next 12 years at least.
Yes. Yes.
Then I realized...
Don't get infatuated with old BMs. And especially 5 Series and 3 Series, I don't know what's the value in them, to be honest, when they're old. Unless you're talking about coupe cabriolet, you know.
Exactly.
Other than that, it's all subjective value. Maybe the car means something to you, but great. But the reality is it means nothing to anyone. They are complete junks after they are old. Complete nonsense. But if you want to say how well they drive,
But the lesson I learned from that was sporty old cars, maybe not such a good idea. But then
unless they are very special.
Unless they're very special, yeah. So I switched to the most boring, most reliable old car.
Which is a bad choice also.
It's a bad choice also. But I thought, you know what? I'm getting it free. I basically traded the E34 for a 124, which of similar condition, going from a 2.5 inline six to a 2.6 inline six. Everything else was similar
with less
spec.
power.
With less power, amazingly less power. Thank you, Mercedes. But then I started driving the car around, and I realized, the car has power and all that, but it was just so boring.
How boring it is!
It was just absolutely boring. There's nothing to love about the car. And I realized, Mercedes has a reputation for high quality parts, but when the car is 30 years old, things will still break. And you have to ask yourself, is this car worth spending that much to fix up?
Yeah.
And that's when I came to another realization, which is what you just said, don't buy an old car expecting to fix it up unless it's special. Unless it's a coupe or it's a rare performance variant. A collector's item. It has to have some aspect of collectability.
It has to have some reputation.
Yeah, I sold off all my cars.
That's why I remember when you bought the E-Class, when we were hunting for the E-Class, remember? I told you, spending 10,000 on an E-Class with exactly the same mechanicals and spending 10,000 more on an E-Coupe with exactly the same mechanicals, actually spending the 10,000 more is worth it.
It's worth it,
Because at least it's something worth keeping.
Yeah.
A four-door Mercedes, it's the most boring thing ever to drive.
Yeah.
And when it loses its robustness, which say what you want lah, a 124 by today will have a lot of issue, no matter what. Even if you don't drive it, even if you maintain it well, there will be issues. Yeah. So even if the robustness is gone, it doesn't look that great to begin with. Let's put it this way. Maybe you like it when you're younger because you get what I mean? So the only thing worth keeping is a coupe. So if that's why spend the 10,000 extra, the 20 over thousand, get a coupe instead of a 10,000 and get a E-class
sedan,
4-door. I think that's more worth it. At least you can keep it when you're old and you can tell your kids, "Pa spend 20,000 of this." At least there's a story to be told. If it's a 4-door car, your kid will kick it. What the hell is this old junk doing?
Exactly. Nobody will want it. But eventually I sold all my cars and I merged the lessons I learned, which is Japanese.
Number one is?
The number one lesson is Japanese cars can be slow car fast and fun.
Yes. Okay.
Number two is don't get infatuated with a lot of things that people tell you about motoring.
It's all hype lah.
It's a lot of it is
hype lah.
Yeah, because people spend this money already and then they wanna boost their ego by harping on this one element, but it may not necessarily be true. You have to discover it for yourself lah. If you think it's worth it, then it's worth it. But if it's really not, then if you get into a Myvi before you buy anything else and ask yourself, can the Myvi do 90% of what this car is doing? Then you make a decision. And the third lesson was you have to get something that is worth keeping, because an old car, no matter how reliable it is, even if it's a Honda, you're going to have to spend money on it.
Yes.
Yeah. And
there is no 30-year-old car that is problem-free. Let's put it this way. A problem-free 30-year-old car is completely rebuilt down to every panel. And if it's completely rebuilt down to every panel, it's more expensive than an S-Class is brand new today. Trust me.
Exactly.
So it's not worth it unless you have the money. Unless it's something personal for you. Then there's no reason to.
So I see a lot of these posts about, why should I buy a Vios if I can spend that same money and get a E46 or
it's like watching a train wreck in slow mo. I joined all this group, especially the BMW group, and I see these guys, asking post there. Oh, I'm looking at an F10. I see F10 today. I already say, oh boy, stay away. If you want to play with an F10 today, and if your budget is 200,000 ringgit, stop. You're not going to be able to afford it. Let's put it this way. Because the car is going to cost you 100,000. And then the maintenance is going to cost you easily 20, 30,000 in a year to 2 years or 3 years at most. Do you have that kind of cash to splurge on such an old car that you will lose interest in within 2 to 3 years? I don't think it's worth it. If your budget is 200,000, save 50,000, go and get 150,000 Mazda CX-5. That would be a more realistic choice.
Yeah. You can keep it for 5 years and you'll have more utilitarian value out of it.
Yeah. And you have some value in a residual value. You want to play with 20,000 ringgit 5 Series, you can, but make sure you have 60,000 ringgit on standby, or you're willing to park the car at the side of the road and walk away if any problem were to be not worth it. You got to really have that attitude when you're dealing with 20,000 ringgit car. There's a reason why they're 20,000, because they are literally metal junks. They're not worth anything in reality, and anything were to break, it's going to cost more to fix than the whole value of the vehicle is in junkyard. So it's not worth it. I can tell you, an F10, so many 530i's has cracked cylinder heads and cracked basically catastrophic engine malfunction. And the engine is so expensive. Last I checked was some 40,000 ringgit to fix. It's not worth it, bro. It's one third of the value of your vehicle, man. No point.
And BMW makes so many of these sedans. It's a premium brand, but they make literally hundreds of thousands of F10s and F30s. Yeah. It's not special enough.
And not only that, cars post 2000 and I would say 2010 onwards are too complicated to keep. None of them will survive the weathering of Malaysia for more than 15 years. I will be surprised if an S-Class is still running after 10 years. We hear about S-Classes brand new having starting problem, the amount of check engine light, the amount of fault codes you were to plug a 2-year-old Mercedes S-Class in, you'll be surprised. You print it out, it comes out in 2 pages. Not a few sentences, 2 pages worth of fault codes.
Yeah.
Like what? But the car is perfectly fine. It's just that, these things will accumulate and eventually will just get overwhelming.
Yeah.
I give an example, 220, 221. 222 is the current one.
Yeah.
Right? 220 lah. 220 was so problematic, and at least those problems mostly are mechanical and plastic problems.
Right.
That 220 has a severe the suspension vacuum, not vacuum, the air suspension sinking or sinking problem. Even that is already getting difficult to maintain. But at least those are mechanical problems. You can see it and then you can fix it, you can replace it. But after that, 221 onwards, it just gets so complicated. The amount of fault codes is scary, man. Mechanics just shake their heads and tell you walk away lah, bro. That's why S-classes are so cheap. You open up Motor Trader or whatever, you see S-classes. A 10-year-old S-class is so damn cheap. It's barely 50,000 ringgit. 60, no, 221. No, 221, I see, around there, 12, 13 years old is what, 50,000, 40,000 ringgit. It's crazy,
90% depreciation.
More than that, man. That thing was $1 million, brand new, man. Scary.
Yeah.
It's completely nuts. Don't do this to yourself.
Yeah, which is why, when I ended up searching for a car again, it was either going to be.
You're still looking around.
No, like when I got this final car.
That one. Okay.
What I basically learned is get something that is either special and in either it has to be a rare model of some sort. Don't go out there and spend 20K on a Corolla with the black top. Maybe if that's what you want, then fine. But that kind of thing is like, it's a bit too hodgepodge. Right? You don't know where it's going to lie. Maybe the parts will be worth something, but it's not exactly collector's item.
The body is not worth anything.
Whereas if you get like a Merino Sprinter or something where it's like a Corolla with a frameless door, something a little bit special.
Then drop a black top onto it, it'll be nice.
So that when I found my car, it was basically a fluke. I was like, I used the filter list, and I dropped it down to, old Honda has to be manual. I'll search for coupes. And I put my budget below 20K. And immediately a few of these second-gen Integra started popping up. And this Integra is completely under the radar. Nobody talks about it because it is ugly. It is a bit...
It's not the best-looking Hondas.
It's not the best-looking Honda. It's not an iconic Honda at all.
Also, and the next generation, DC5 is just so overwhelmingly popular.
Yeah.
So that's why this DC2, right? Yours?
Mine is not even DC. Mine is DA6.
DA6.
It's such a lost generation of Honda that when I went to the Honda Museum in Japan, they had the first generation Integra. They skipped my generation and then they had the third generation. I was like, oh man, that burn. I feel it so much.
F.
I pressed F for myself. But in that lack of appreciation, I found a quality that I have come to appreciate about the car, which is that because it is not appreciated, because there are better versions of the Integra, the value of this car is extremely, to me, it is slightly undervalued. You can get an Integra for as low as 12K. And it comes with a 160.
But bad condition.
You have to fix it up a bit. Basically, to get a running Integra of second gen, you have to spend maybe 20K. But with that amount of money, you get 160 horsepower, a very tight 5-speed manual. And it's actually been in the last year relatively problem free. Like there have been problems.
Right. Small problems.
Problems which I fix with a spanner, basically that kind of.
Or a hammer.
Spanner or hammer, Those are the kinds of problems So I've come to appreciate.
But you get 9,000 RPM, isn't it?
I get 8,200. That's when the red line. That's where the peak torque is. I think it goes up to
anything
a
above
bit more than
7 is called fun, lah. Let's put it this way.
and it's so slow car fun. It's like you think you're going like light speed, then you look down at the speedometer, you're going 110 kilometers per hour.
A modern Myvi is just like parallel.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
you see people having conversation in the MIB next to you, and you're inside like, what's going on? Everything is vibrating.
Your V-Tech is about to open already.
Yeah.
The guy was beside you having a conversation.
And what in the last 2-3 months during MCO when I'm traveling up and down, I cannot travel with this car. I dare not. You know, like you're saying, people with their classic vintage cars going to Batu
It's stupid lah.
It's damn silly.
It's
For me,
stupid
this car is 30 years old, so it's slightly more modern than those cars. But even then, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't risk it. Because the
if you really take care of it, don't lah.
Yeah. Because going on the highway is a hazard in itself.
Yeah.
If anything should happen.
I know, man, especially a 30-year-old car. It feels so ancient on the highway. Because they're not built for that kind of road. They're built for city roads. Exactly. So on the city, you feel it's fine. Take a classic car onto the highway, you realize how much of a danger you are to everyone else on the road, man. Seriously. Yeah. I don't know how those people do it with minis.
Yeah, it's mad, man.
On the highway, the wheels is this size. Like, what the hell?
Go-kart, man. The one. Yeah, but
also, you don't take a kapchai up a highway and feel safe about it. You don't take a mini onto a highway and hey, I'm doing fine here. No, you're not. You're a hazard to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. And being so spoiled, being the spoiled person who's driven a few hundred cars, I realized how far cars have come. Even basic cheap cars, even a modern Myvi, how far they've come from your 1980s standard of vehicles.
Right.
You know, that I don't dare, like, just for my own safety and other people's safety, I don't dare take a car like that out. But I also found it's actually very viable to just live with an old car like this, and when you need it, you just rent a SO car or whatever and plan your journey out.
You're paid to say this,
No, I'm not. Don't get SO car. Get whichever. I did a comparison article between the two, SO car and Go car, and my conclusion is this lah. Neither of them are better than the other. You have to look at both and see which one.
Because you're taking money from both.
No, I'm taking money from neither. They both suck in their own same way. And I believe it's going to be like Uber and Grab, where whoever can burn the most money first will survive and get dominance over the whole market. So it's now as a customer.
That's the problem with startups.
But as a customer, I'm like, fuck them lah. I take whatever discount code you can offer. I whack, you whack the price as much as you can for me, and I'll just take whatever you can offer.
Right.
So just take advantage of both. Just see whichever is cheaper and just take that. Because the benefits between the two are so small.
I haven't gotten myself into this. And sharing car is not something I want to do now, especially amidst COVID-19. Yeah. That's like the last thing I want to do because of the steering wheel and, I don't know lah. I don't dare lah. But I can see this in the future, especially your generation. Most of you guys don't want to own cars anymore. Yeah. So that's the way it is. And to be honest, buying a car now is not something I would advise you to do. Yeah. If you can live in a place where MRT is covered, there's no reason to. Yeah. Save the money, man. Save the 1,000 ringgit every month. You could use it. Yeah. It's not just 1,000. If you're paying 1,000, it could be 2,000 maintenance, fuel, and wear and tear. It's a lot.
And imagine you're spending that much for my generation. It can be a quarter of your salary going to your car, and you cannot get a car that is lovable for a quarter of your salary.
No, you can't.
So
you can't.
You might as well save
that's
up
where we fail.
Yeah.
That's where we autophiles fail. We are talking about why you shouldn't buy a car on a car review channel. That is why it took us so long to reach 9.97k subscribers.
And maybe that's part of our charm because we know that a lot of these cars are not worth it. We tell you the truth. Yeah, we tell you the truth.
Yeah, we tell you the painful truth. Don't bother. Hey, since we are here, I show you some of my classic life if the viewers want to see. Haven't started in a while. So if you see behind me, this is the London cap that I have. Yeah, the London cap. In front of there, you can see my pride and joy. Give me more headache than joy, in actual fact. my Jaguar Mark II. Yeah, and you can see my little Porsche in front there. But let's not show that. Yeah. So that's my vehicles
collection. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, shall we call
collection, which I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much for subscribing to our channel. Please share our video if you like it. We have a very niche viewership. The next time you see us, we will be reading out the strongest supporter for Autofiles that has been supporting us since the beginning and count at subscribers we have and remind us how many subscribers we have gained. Peter!
whose last name we do not know.
Yes. Right, Autofiles signing out.
Right. See ya. Okay.
See ya.
Take care.